We're shifting focus from the induction of the light combat helicopters to a bomb threat news that is now coming to the fore. On board an Iranian passenger jet over the Indian airspace. The jet's final destination is in China, but it was over the Indian airspace when that bomb threat was made. IAF jets have now been scrambled and alarm bells have been sent ringing as well. Passenger jet is now moving towards China is what we're given to understand, and the IAF is on high alert, taking note of what perhaps lies on board that passenger jet. Abhishek Jha, my colleague, now joins us for more on this. Abhishek, alarm bells there ringing, but what's the latest?
Of course, and there is this high alert that has been stated, and we know so far that there has been one bomb threat that has been made on board an Iranian Mahan Airlines, which has started its flight from Tehran, and it was on way to Guangzhou in China. In between, there has been a bomb threat that was made. The passenger on board, they tried to contact air traffic control of Delhi, and they asked them for permission to land in Delhi. However, they were asked to divert to Jaipur because that was probably one destination where ATC tried to divert that plane. However, very soon, without any further conversation, that plane had left Indian airspace, and now it is being observed to be moving towards China from to where it was destined. It was destined to Guangzhou province in China. So far, there has not been any further details as to whether this was a hostage situation that was being planned or there was some bomb hoax that was on board and pilots just tried to avoid any threat to the plane and the passengers and just wanted to navigate through this crisis and land in Delhi just to avoid any suspicion. So we are not sure about those hostage crises or just a bomb hoax, but we know that there has been a bomb threat made to ATC in Delhi, and now the plane, after the IF has also been put on high alert, and there has been reports of jets being scrambled. Now the Tehran to that plane which was on way to Guangzhou in China from Tehran has left the Indian airspace. That is the latest that we have information on.
Right, do stay on with me because like you've been mentioning, Sukhoi 30 fighter jets have also been scrambled. But Anand is now joining us live. And Anand, if you could take our viewers through the flight path really, because now we're given to understand that the passenger jet is en route its destination.
Yes, it is. And as we see, now I'm just going to tell you, this is the W581. That's the Mahan Air flight that was present there. And now this is the flight tracker that we were having a look at. Now, if you look at it, here in New Delhi, around New Delhi, it does a circle. And then it was supposed to, the suggestion made was that you head to Jaipur, but the pilot refused to head to Jaipur. This flight is taken off. It's a Mahan Air flight that's taken off from Tehran and heading to Guangzhou. But now if you look at the flight tracker, the fighter jets were scrambled to escort or to watch this plane, but it's flown over the Indian airspace all the way over UP, Bihar, and then flown over Bangladesh airspace also, and it's crossed Tripura, and now this flight at this point is heading out. It's headed out towards the Mandalay or Myanmar. So it's actually going to fly over Myanmar and perhaps go towards its intended destination in the Yunnan province and towards Guangzhou. So it just looks like it is continuing. It was very intriguing that the flight at this point has crossed Indian airspace and it's flown out of Tripura and it is now in Myanmar. So clearly the Sukhoi 30 and the jets now have moved out of the Indian airspace. So that's what we are getting to understand. So this was the flight that was making its way. This flight, the IRM 081, now this flight has now moved its way and it's flown out. So it's over Tripura and it's moved out of the Indian airspace. That's what we are given to understand. It's now entering Myanmar and headed towards Mandalay. Now it looks like it's going to cross over this region and enter into the Yunnan province and head towards its final destination. So it's quite intriguing what has happened, that there is a bomb scare call that's come from the ATC wanting to land this plane in New Delhi. The authorities say, no, you redirect the flight and take it towards Jaipur, because if it lands in Delhi, then the entire airport, Delhi airport, will have to be closed and sealed. Jaipur is just about a half-an-hour drive on the flight path or a half-an-hour flight from the flight path or a detour. But the pilot refusing to land the flight in Jaipur and then deciding to continue on. So it's quite interesting and intriguing to know why is it that after a bomb threat and requesting an emergency landing in Delhi, the flight is actually now continuing, and if you were to see its path, it's crossed over the Indian airspace, but beyond Tripura and Manipur, it's already now in Myanmar's airspace. So it's flown over the Indian airspace, flown over Bangladesh, so there's no landing in Bangladesh either, and it's flown outside of the Indian airspace. So the Sukhoi jets that were scrambled, they were scrambled to ensure that this flight does not make a detour or land and perhaps they were scrambled just to watch this plane and what is happening and what is a further communication. But now it is out of the Indian airspace, so clearly our fighter jets would have returned, and this flight is now, if you look at it, it's cutting across and will enter the Chinese mainland in about an hour, in the next, say, 45 minutes to an hour. But this is clearly now out of the Indian airspace. It's in Myanmar's airspace right now. So it's moved beyond the Indian airspace at this point. And quite a bit of a scare and drama there over the last 1 hour, 1.5 hours, that this flight was there over Indian airspace. So this has happened at about 10:30 in the morning. It's nearly about noon. And this is when this entire drama unfolded. If you see this flight path of this flight, it has tried to take a circle and hover around New Delhi. And then perhaps when it was asked or suggested that you head towards Jaipur, the pilot deciding, no, I'm not going to land there, and then flying down further. So one wonders if there was indeed a bomb threat and there was an emergency landing required in Delhi, why is it that the pilot refused to land in Jaipur, and how is it that the flight is now continuing onwards towards the path? So was it an unruly passenger in the flight who's now been overcome, and was it just a scare and there was no bomb threat at least, or has it been negated? We are still awaiting the details, but a lot of drama over the last 90 to 120 minutes over the Indian airspace. Back to you.
Absolutely, and for it to have actually cleared the Indian airspace, it would have taken over an hour or more after permission was denied for it to land in Delhi. Anand, do we have any details if the pilot or the crew actually got back in touch with the ATC?
Now, we are given to understand that the ATC would received a call that they with a request for an emergency landing as soon as the flight entered Indian airspace and was near Delhi. Then the ATC then suggested don't land in Delhi because Delhi is an international airport, huge amount of flights. Now the entire airport would have had to be sealed had there been an emergency landing there. So suggestion was made that a relatively lesser traffic at the Jaipur airport to land the plane in Jaipur. Right. The flight you see tried to do a circle around here. But the pilot refusing to fly to Jaipur and continuing on the onward journey. That's when the jets were scrambled to see if there is going to be a mid-air incident and if this flight needs to be escorted safely. Either it has to land in Jaipur or it has to be safely escorted outside of the Indian airspace. Now what's happened is from Delhi all the way over to Bihar and then into Bangladesh, over then to Tripura and Manipur. Right. Over the next 90 minutes to 2 hours. This flight has been on Indian airspace, it was monitored, but it is now out of Indian airspace. So now it's not India's responsibility what happens. It's in the Myanmar's airspace and it is continuing to head in its natural trajectory.
Right, and it's well within its on its way to
towards
towards its destination in China, and once it's actually